Charter schools is the attempt of the public education system to try to engage public education in a different way. It is not a panacea, it is not a cure-all, it is simply an option. I think families across New York, particularly New York City, are voting with their feet. The fact that there are 35,000 youngsters on waiting lists for charter schools, I think will tell you that families across this city, in particular, are eager for these options. So, it was a hard job convincing everyone in the legislature to move forward on these definitions of where the feds wanted us to go. We managed to get there because of the legislation, because of the work we did with the union. New York's application was recognized with a $700 million grant. I'm going to end my formal comments by just laying out for you what it is we'd like to do with the money. Obviously, $700 million, when you compare it to the $54 billion that New York State spends on education, is not a lot. However, it is the only free money coming into the system. It is the only money that is not already tied by formula to some building, some place, somewhere. It gives us the opportunity to innovate. And ladies and gentlemen, innovate we will. We are going to build a statewide data system. It's a very costly thing. We are going to tie every teacher to every youngster to every school of education that prepared that teacher. We are going to allow the entire network, city university, state university, schools of higher education in the private sector, to talk to each other about the teachers that they're turning out and the quality of the students that their teachers are turning out. This also is not an easy thing to do, but that's going to be a very big ticket item. We are going to design the next generation of assessments. New York State has been invited by the federal government to be one of the designated leaders in designing a national assessment system. Let me tell you what a national assessment system will do. Right now, New York State prepares their own exams, math and English. But how do we know, when we give our exams, how our students compare to the kids in Colorado or to the kids in Delaware if everyone is giving their own exam? There is a consortium of states that are working to build a national test, 3 through 8, for English language arts and math. And I think it's an idea whose time is short. We should have done this years ago. So that's the next thing we're going to do. The data system, fix the assessments. We're going to focus. Hello. Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
I made it though.
We're going to focus on teacher preparation. And again, we're going to do some challenging things. We are going to say to the schools of higher education who turn out all of our teachers that we would like to open a few different models that are not housed in schools, in traditional schools of education, that are going to be pilot programs. We'd like to give institutions, be they cultural, be they scientific, like the Museum of Natural History. I'd like to say to Ellen Futter, Ellen, create a program and give me 400 science teachers who can teach science in the elementary and middle school grades, and not house it in the school of education. Okay, it's going to be tough, everyone's a little angry about it, but what we're doing is we're starting to challenge the norms. We are going to adopt the best of what these schools of education have done, and trust me, there are phenomenally great schools of education, but even they will agree that they need to be challenged to get to the next generation. And the last thing we're going to do with the money is we are going to spend quite a lot of money turning around low-performing schools. If you are a superintendent in New York State, and there are 700 school districts in New York State, Joel Klein is just one superintendent of one school district, there are 700 of them, and you come to us with a plan that says, I would like to take these 20 schools, I would like to give you a program of what I'm going to do to make it a better school over the course of 3 years. We will sign off on that plan, and each one of those schools will be getting $2 million a year from the federal government for 3 years. The big difference here is they're gonna have to get approval for the type of work they're gonna do. And I assure you that neither David Steiner, nor John King, nor myself will sign off on mediocrity. The last thing we're going to do in New York State, and this really has nothing to do with Race to the Top, but we're going to design a statewide curriculum. Right now you hear so much about teaching to the test, teaching to the test. This is a backwards way of getting to competencies. Instead of having tests decide what youngsters should learn, we believe that by building a statewide curriculum in English language arts and math, the curriculum will drive the assessment so that teachers will no longer be forced to focus on just those items on the exam. They will be given a curriculum on which the exam will be based. And I have to tell you that across this state, teachers have met this concept of a statewide curriculum with open arms. This is just a little bit of what we're doing. It is the broad brush strokes, I think, of our reform agenda, and I hate to use the word reform because every chancellor has another reform that goes by the wayside. I'd like to postulate for you that what we're going to do is we're going to take the $700 million, we're going to spend it on a few expensive things that will yield results in this state for generations to come.